Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video I'm going to be running through my personal best settings for P3D and kind of what I personally think runs the system the best in terms of frame rates and also how to make it just look really realistic. Well, you know, to the extent that P3D allows you to. So we'll start off with the ultra realistic settings with kind of mid-range frame performance. I would say that you probably do have to have a pretty high spec PC for these settings. It's just called Ultra 2. I've got a few different ones. I've got Ultra and Ultra 2, but the reason I leave this as Ultra 2 is because I turn FX AA off. Basically, it does take a lot of the frame rates because it starts smoothing out all the edges. So I leave that off. I put anti-aliasing, or whatever it's called, aliasing, however you want to pronounce it. I put that on ×8, SSAA, and then texture filtering, anisotropic ×16, and then the texture resolution is ultra at 4K basically. However, I don't know how much of a difference this actually makes, because if you're not running on a 4K monitor, a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't make a difference, but I think it actually does. I remember seeing some reasoning behind it, but I can't specifically remember what. Resolution, I just play on normal 1080. I don't feel the need to play on 4K. Plus, I don't actually have a 4K monitor with this PC to use it on. Frame rate controls, I stick VSync on with triple buffering and target frame rate to unlimited. I find that if you have quite a high-end PC, setting it to unlimited seems to work better. I don't know why, but if you limit it to 30, you actually get a drop in frames. So like it will still be trying to achieve 30, but it doesn't achieve 30, if you get what I mean. It like bounces between like 25 and 30, whereas when you're on limited, it kind of sits where it might have been on 25. If it's set to unlimited, it might sit at like 35 or 40, and then bounce up in between like 30, anywhere up to 60 or 70, which I've had in my sim. But let's go on to the world settings. So level of detail, radius max. Literally all of this stuff is just maxed out. Tessellation factor ultra, mesh resolution 1 meter, texture resolution 7 centimeters, and then use high resolution terrain textures. Water detail ultra. You might not need this if you're flying like inland, like within Europe. I probably wouldn't bother having that at ultra because it does use a lot of performance. Kind of takes away the performance from the PC a little bit. Reflections, literally just use a vehicle. Don't worry about the other stuff. You don't have, well, you can if you want to, but I just use a vehicle. Scenery objects, scenery complexity is extremely dense. Autogen and scenery draw distance extremely high. Autogen vegetation density extremely dense. Autogen building density extremely dense, and then special effects both on high. Dynamic 3D autogen, you can do this. You know, it's whether you really want to. I don't bother with it, but you might choose to. Lighting, this is obviously different for different people. You can kind of set the lighting how you want. So I use HDR lighting, and then my brightness is set to 0.84, bloom is at 0.72, saturation is at 0.81. Dynamic reflections just turned off. I just don't think it really adds much to the sim that you're going to really warrant the performance drop. I use dynamic lighting. Landing lights illuminate the ground, and display lens flare. I think these are all important ones to do. Shadow quality, medium. To be honest, shadows don't really bother me that much. Shadow draw distance, medium. Casting and receiving. I cast on internal vehicle, external vehicle, and clouds. And I receive on the internal vehicle and external vehicle. I don't, some people might choose other stuff, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just going to drag your system performance down more than it probably already is. Weather-wise, some people go for a cloud draw distance of like 110 because it gives you nice coverage, but I leave it at 90 because the more cloud distance you have, the more it goes a bit nutty when it comes to trying to render it out, and your performance will drop, especially if you're using like active sky and Rex or stuff and you're about to come into a cloud. The performance just drops. Cloud coverage density maximum, and then simulation settings enable turbulence and thermal effects on vehicle. I use detailed clouds with volumetric fog, detailed precipitation, and windshield effects. Thermal visualization, I don't really bother with. I don't think you need to. But if we have a look at traffic, all of this is set to 0 because I use Ultimate Traffic Live, within the sim, or I fly on that sim. So I don't need to activate it in the sim because Ultimate Traffic Live pumps it in itself. Realism, the normal sort of stuff, pretty much. Sound, and that's pretty much as it is. But that's my kind of ultra realistic, looks amazing, but your frame rates might take a hit. But what I'm now going to show you is the ones that are best for frame rates, in my personal opinion, and that's what I use for streaming. So if I'm kind of streaming offline or recording a video, I would try and do it in the ultra settings. If I'm streaming, I want frame rates to be good. I don't want it to be jolty because it just ruins the user experience for the audience. So let's have a look. I've got two because I kind of flip between the two depending on what sort of weather and kind of time of day it is. So stream 1 profile is FXAA off, anti-aliasing or whatever you want to call it is off or set to none. Anisotropic filtering ×16 with 4K resolution on ultra with unlimited target frame rate with triple buffering and VSync on. World, so you might see this differs a little bit from what my other one is. You've got level of detail radius on ultra, tessellation factor high, mesh resolutions at 5 meters and texture resolutions at 30 centimeters. We do want to use the high resolution terrain textures, and water detail is set to medium. Reflections only on user vehicle. Scenery objects, scenery complexity is set to dense. Autogen and scenery draw distance set to high. Autogen vegetation density extremely dense. This kind of covers more vegetation like trees and stuff to kind of give it that more of a realistic feel without having to kind of bomb it down with a bunch of buildings as such. And then the autogen building density is set to normal. And dynamic 3D autogen vegetation is also turned off. But special effects both set to high again. That's what we like to see. Lighting, enable HDR lighting is off, but these are just the normal preset settings. Dynamic reflections on low, dynamic lighting, landing lights, illuminated ground and display lens flare all on. Shadow quality ultra, shadow draw distance ultra. We receive on all of them, and cast on internal, external simulation objects, clouds and terrain, which is an interesting one because some people might not think that's the best thing to do, but I can tell you what, from people that watch my streams, you will know that the frame rates are very, very good. Even in some of the busy airports like Heathrow, Gatwick, still achieving about 30 frames per second with other traffic as well. And that's using UK 2000 scenery with Orbex and a payware add-on aircraft as well. Have a look at the weather. Cloud draw distance set to 110 now. With cloud coverage density at maximum, detailed clouds, volumetric fog, detailed precipitation and windshield effects, and all traffic turned to none. But that is kind of the stream 1 settings. You might find that when you go to stream 2 they differ slightly. Not here. See, autogen vegetation density. Stream 2 basically is when you're flying at night time because you don't need to see all the vegetation. So bang, you pull it down a little bit to very dense. Gives you a bit more kind of leeway with the performance. Lighting, that doesn't really change, except from the fact that you turn all the shadows off pretty much, except from shadow quality down to medium. And then you obviously take some of the casting and receive because you're not going to really see shadows at night time. Weather wise, that's all the same. So just little tweaks here and there really do help influence the sim. But if we go to Ultra 2, that's kind of what I've filmed my videos on and make it look really, really nice. But it does have a massive impact on the frame rate, unfortunately. But it's give and take with this sort of stuff. When you're streaming, you want it to be crisp, you want it to be quick, you want the frame rates to be good, you don't want it to be choppy, because trust me, your users and audience will know, and they'll be like, this sucks to watch because it's so choppy. Especially if you're averaging 20 frames, it's still, as much as it seems smooth on your screen and on theirs, but it's not as such when you're actually in the sim. It doesn't feel great to be flying around 20 FPS. Personally, I think 30 is a good one. You don't kind of get the sort of jittering around the screen, but you get good sort of performance, and you can actually fly without having to worry about crappy frame rates. But anyway, I hope this video has helped anyone who's watching, educated you, informed you of kind of the best things. If it's been enjoyable, I hope that's helped as well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are new around here, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really does help me. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers this year. We've got 8,000 pretty much to go, so we're going to keep ploughing away and hope for the best. And if you do want to keep up with some of my flight sim live streams or other live streams that I do and other videos, make sure you turn that little bell notification button on, and that allows you to keep notified when I go live in the future. So yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please leave a like on this video, share it with your friends and stuff, and if you find it useful. And I will catch you next time. Peace.